Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided his small cargo freighter through the asteroid field surrounding Kepler Station. The massive space station hung like a metal spider in the void, its arms reaching out to dock ships from dozens of different worlds. After 3 months hauling medical supplies to the outer colonies, Marcus was ready for some real food and a soft bed. The docking bay assigned to him was in the lower levels, where the cheaper berths were located. As Marcus maneuvered his ship into the cramped space, he noticed something odd in the corner of the bay. A pile of what looked like scrap metal and garbage had been dumped there, but something was moving underneath. After securing his ship, Marcus walked over to investigate. The smell hit him first, a mixture of rotting food and something else, something organic and sour. As he got closer, he heard a soft whimpering sound. Moving aside a twisted piece of hull plating, Marcus gasped. Curled up in the debris was a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. It was about the size of a large dog, covered in what appeared to be scales that shifted from deep purple to black in the dim light. Its body was serpentine, but with 4 legs and wings folded against its sides. The creature's head was distinctly dragon-like, with a long snout and small horns protruding from its skull. But it was the creature's condition that made Marcus's stomach turn. Its scales were dull and cracked in places, revealing raw skin underneath. One wing hung at an odd angle, clearly broken. The young dragon, for that's what it had to be, was painfully thin, its ribs visible through its hide. "What the hell?" Marcus muttered, kneeling down slowly. The creature looked up at him with large golden eyes that held an intelligence that made Marcus's breath catch. Those eyes were filled with pain and fear, but also a desperate hope. Marcus had heard stories about the draconian species. They were one of the oldest races in the galaxy, with incredible psychic abilities and lifespans that stretched for millennia. But they were also known for being arrogant and hostile to other species. Most worlds had banned them outright after a series of incidents where adult draconians had used their mental powers to manipulate local governments. This was clearly a hatchling, though. Just a baby. And someone had thrown it away like garbage. "Hey there, little guy," Marcus said softly, extending his hand slowly. The dragon flinched, but didn't retreat. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature tilted its head, studying Marcus with those penetrating golden eyes. Then, to Marcus's surprise, he felt a gentle touch in his mind. Not invasive or controlling like the stories described adult draconians, but more like a cautious greeting. Images flashed through his consciousness: pain, hunger, cold, loneliness, and underneath it all, a desperate need for kindness. Marcus felt his heart break a little. Whatever this species had done to earn the galaxy's hatred, this innocent creature didn't deserve to suffer for it. "Come on," Marcus said, slowly reaching toward the dragon. "Let's get you out of here." The dragon allowed Marcus to pick it up, though it weighed more than he expected. As they walked toward his ship, Marcus noticed several alien dock workers watching them with expressions ranging from disgust to outright horror. "Human," called out a Zephyrian supervisor, its crystalline form clicking as it approached. "You must dispose of that creature immediately. Draconians are forbidden on this station." Marcus turned to face the alien, the young dragon still cradled in his arms. "This is a child," he said firmly. "It's injured and starving. It is a pest," the Zephyrian replied, its voice resonating through its crystal body. "The hatchling was found stowing away on a transport 3 days ago. Standard protocol is disposal." "Disposal?" Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. "You were going to kill it?" "Draconians are dangerous," interjected a Corvan security officer, its insectoid features twisted in distaste. "Even the young ones. The species is classified as a galactic threat." Marcus looked down at the dragon in his arms. It was looking up at him with those golden eyes, and he could sense its growing hope through their mental connection. The idea of these aliens casually murdering a child, even an alien child, made him sick. "Not while I'm here," Marcus said flatly. The Zephyrian supervisor's form brightened with agitation. "Human, you do not understand. This creature will grow to become a menace. All Draconians do. They cannot help their nature." "Maybe," Marcus replied, "but that's not for you to decide. This is a living being, and it's just a baby." Marcus turned and walked toward his ship, ignoring the protests from the aliens behind him. As he climbed the boarding ramp, he could hear them calling station security, but he didn't care. His ship was technically sovereign human territory, and there wasn't much they could do once he got inside. Once aboard, Marcus carried the dragon to his small medical bay. The creature was surprisingly docile, allowing him to examine its injuries without protest. The broken wing was the most serious problem, but Marcus could see other signs of abuse: old scars, malnutrition, and what looked like burn marks on its flanks. "Who did this to you?" Marcus whispered as he worked. Through their mental link, he caught flashes of memories: cruel laughter, electric prods, beings throwing things at a cage. The dragon had been someone's entertainment, tortured for sport until it managed to escape. Marcus felt his jaw clench in anger. He had seen a lot of cruelty in his years hauling cargo across the galaxy, but this was something else entirely. The systematic abuse of a child, even an alien one, was beyond his understanding. Working carefully, Marcus set the dragon's wing using a portable bone fuser from his medical kit. The device was designed for humans, but the principles of bone healing were universal. The dragon endured the procedure with remarkable patience, occasionally sending waves of gratitude through their connection. Next came the matter of food. Marcus didn't have anything specifically designed for Draconians, but he tried offering some of his emergency rations. The dragon sniffed at the synthetic protein blocks but turned away in distaste. "Not good enough, huh?" Marcus said with a slight smile. He thought for a moment, then retrieved a freeze-dried steak from his personal supplies. After rehydrating it with warm water, he offered pieces to the dragon. This time the creature ate eagerly, tearing into the meat with surprising delicacy. As it ate, Marcus could feel its strength beginning to return. The dull scales started to show hints of their true colors, deep purple with edges of silver and gold. "You're beautiful," Marcus said softly, and he meant it. Despite everything the galaxy said about Draconians, this creature was magnificent. The dragon paused in its eating and looked up at Marcus. Through their mental link, he felt something that surprised him: the concept of a name. The dragon was trying to tell him its name. The mental impression was complex, involving harmonics and concepts that didn't translate well to human languages. But Marcus got the general idea. "Harmony," he said aloud. "Is that close?" The dragon, Harmony, made a sound that was almost like a purr and pressed its head against Marcus's hand. Over the next few hours, as Marcus prepared his ship for departure, he found himself growing more and more attached to the young dragon. Harmony was incredibly intelligent, quickly learning to understand Marcus's spoken words and responding with increasingly sophisticated mental communications. But it was more than just intelligence. There was a sweetness to the creature, a gentleness that completely contradicted everything Marcus had been told about the Draconian species. Harmony seemed genuinely grateful for every small kindness, from the warm blanket Marcus provided to the gentle way he cleaned the creature's wounds. As Marcus ran through his pre-flight checklist, he became aware of a commotion outside his ship. Through the small porthole, he could see a crowd of aliens gathering in the docking bay. Station security officers were setting up some kind of barricade. His communication panel lit up with an incoming message. Marcus reluctantly answered it. "Human vessel, this is Station Commander Vextar," came a gravelly voice. You are harboring a dangerous creature in violation of galactic safety protocols. Surrender the Draconian immediately, or we will be forced to take action." Marcus looked over at Harmony, who was curled up on a makeshift bed made from Marcus's spare clothes. The young dragon was sleeping peacefully, its breathing finally steady and unlabored. "Commander, this creature is injured and poses no threat to anyone," Marcus replied. "All Draconians pose a threat," Vextar responded. "Their psychic abilities make them inherently dangerous. The creature must be destroyed for the safety of the station." "Over my dead body," Marcus said, cutting the communication. He turned to his navigation console and began plotting a course away from the station. He wasn't sure where he was going to take Harmony, but he knew he couldn't let these aliens kill an innocent child. As his engines warmed up, Marcus felt a gentle touch in his mind. Harmony was awake and had sensed his distress. Through their connection, the young dragon projected feelings of gratitude and something that might have been love. "Don't worry, little one," Marcus said softly. "Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." The station's tractor beam activated just as Marcus initiated his launch sequence. For a tense moment, his ship strained against the electromagnetic grip, engines roaring at full power. Then Harmony did something unexpected. The young dragon stood up despite its injuries and let out a sound that was part roar, part musical note. Marcus felt a surge of psychic energy flow through his ship, and suddenly the tractor beam winked out. "Did you just—" Marcus started to ask, but Harmony had already collapsed back onto its makeshift bed, exhausted from the effort. Marcus's ship shot out of the docking bay and into open space. Behind them, he could see smaller security vessels launching in pursuit, but they were no match for his cargo freighter's enhanced engines. As they cleared the station's gravity well, Marcus set course for the Outer Rim territories. He would figure out what to do next once they were safe. Looking back at Harmony, who was sleeping again with one wing draped protectively over its head, Marcus realized his life had just changed completely. He was now the guardian of a creature that most of the galaxy wanted dead. But as he felt the warm presence of Harmony's mind touching his, Marcus knew he had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant standing against everyone else. The stars stretched into lines as his ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying them both toward an uncertain but hopeful future. 3 weeks had passed since Marcus fled Kepler Station with Harmony. They had taken refuge in the Frontier Nebula, a region of space where few questions were asked and fewer answers were expected. Marcus had found work hauling supplies to independent mining colonies, jobs that kept them moving and away from major trade routes where station authorities might recognize his ship. Harmony had grown remarkably in those weeks. The young dragon was now nearly twice its original size, its scales gleaming with health. The broken wing had healed perfectly, and Harmony could now glide short distances around the cargo hold. More impressive was the creature's rapidly developing intelligence. Harmony could now understand complex human speech and had learned to communicate through a combination of mental images and gestures. Marcus had also learned much about his unusual passenger. Draconians, it seemed, were far more complex than galactic propaganda suggested. Harmony's species had evolved as empathic beings, their psychic abilities originally designed for cooperation and mutual understanding rather than domination. The aggressive reputation of adult Draconians, Marcus began to suspect, might have more to do with how they were treated than their inherent nature. Their current destination was New Hebron, a small agricultural colony that had requested emergency medical supplies. The colony was too remote and poor to attract attention from major shipping companies, making it perfect for Marcus's current situation. As they dropped out of hyperspace near the colony, Marcus received an unexpected communication. "Unidentified cargo vessel. This is Colonial Defense Ship Righteous Fury. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." Marcus's blood went cold. The Righteous Fury was a Terran Authority vessel, part of humanity's own military force. If they found Harmony, there would be nowhere left to run. "Harmony," Marcus called softly. The young dragon appeared at his side immediately, sensing his distress through their mental link. "We have a problem." Through their connection, Marcus felt Harmony's growing anxiety. The dragon had developed an almost pathological fear of being separated from Marcus, a result of its early trauma. "Cargo vessel, respond immediately," came the stern voice from the military ship. Marcus activated his communication system. "This is Captain Chen aboard the freighter Wandering Star. I'm carrying medical supplies for New Hebron colony." "Captain Chen, we're conducting a sector-wide search for a stolen Draconian. All vessels must submit to inspection. Prepare for boarding." Marcus felt Harmony press against his leg, trembling. Through their mental link, the dragon projected images of cage-like memories filled with fear and pain. "I won't let them take you," Marcus whispered, placing a protective hand on Harmony's head. Thinking quickly, Marcus accessed his ship's cargo manifest. The medical supplies he was carrying included several cryo-storage units designed for organ transport. One of them was large enough to hold Harmony, at least temporarily. "Listen to me," Marcus said to the dragon. "I need you to hide in one of the medical containers. It's going to be cold and dark, but it's only for a little while." Harmony's golden eyes widened with fear, but the dragon nodded in understanding. Marcus could feel waves of trust emanating from the creature's mind, trust in him despite the terrifying prospect of being enclosed in a small space. Marcus quickly modified one of the cryo units, adjusting the temperature to be uncomfortable but not dangerous for a Draconian. He lined it with soft padding and installed a small air recycling system. "I know this is scary," Marcus said as he helped Harmony into the container. "But I promise I'll get you out as soon as they're gone." The young dragon settled into the cramped space, looking up at Marcus with complete faith. As Marcus sealed the container, he felt Harmony's mental voice in his mind. "Trust Marcus. Marcus protects." Moments later, the airlock cycled, and 3 figures in Terran Authority uniforms boarded his ship. The leader, a stern woman with lieutenant stripes, wasted no time with pleasantries. "Captain Chen, I'm Lieutenant Sarah Morrison. We're looking for a stolen Draconian hatchling. Intelligence suggests it may have been smuggled into this sector." "A dragon?" Marcus tried to look surprised. "Here, Lieutenant, I haul medical supplies and mining equipment. Not exactly the kind of cargo that attracts exotic animals." Morrison's scanner officer, a young man with nervous eyes, was already running his instruments over the cargo hold. "I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures," he reported. Marcus's heart raced, but he kept his expression neutral. "Those are the medical cryo units. Some of the equipment uses exotic matter storage. It can throw off standard scanners." The third officer, a grizzled sergeant, was examining the modified cryo unit that contained Harmony. "This one's running hot," he observed. "Organ preservation," Marcus replied quickly. "The liver inside needs a specific temperature range, or the colony's transplant patient dies." Lieutenant Morrison studied Marcus carefully. "Captain, harboring a Draconian is a serious crime. If we find that creature on your ship, you'll face charges of trafficking in dangerous biologics." "Lieutenant, I understand your position," Marcus said, "but I'm just trying to get medical supplies to people who need them. I don't have time for dragon hunting." The scanner officer finished his sweep and shook his head. "Nothing definitive. The medical equipment is interfering too much." Morrison looked frustrated but nodded. "Very well, Captain, but be aware that we'll be monitoring this sector. If that creature surfaces anywhere in this region, we'll know about it." After the military officers left, Marcus waited a full hour before opening Harmony's container. The young dragon emerged shivering and distressed, immediately pressing against Marcus for comfort. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered, wrapping Harmony in a thermal blanket. "I hated doing that to you." Through their mental connection, Harmony projected forgiveness and understanding. The dragon had endured the confinement because it trusted Marcus completely. As they continued toward New Hebron, Marcus found himself thinking about the situation. The Terran Authority was actively hunting Harmony, which meant nowhere in human space would be safe. The outer colonies might be more tolerant, but they were also more dangerous, with pirates and raiders who might see a young dragon as valuable cargo. When they landed on New Hebron, Marcus was greeted by Dr. Elena Vasquez, the colony's chief medical officer. She was a middle-aged woman with calloused hands and tired eyes, who looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Captain Chen, thank goodness you're here," she said as Marcus unloaded the medical supplies. "We've had an outbreak of Rigelian fever. Without these antibiotics, we would have lost half the colony." As they worked together to transfer the cargo, Dr. Vasquez noticed Harmony watching from the ship's entrance. The young dragon had grown more confident over the weeks and no longer hid whenever strangers were around. "That's an interesting pet," Dr. Vasquez commented. "What species is it?" Marcus tensed, ready to deflect the question, but then he saw something unexpected in the doctor's eyes. There was no fear or disgust, just curiosity and professional interest. "It's complicated," Marcus said finally. Dr. Vasquez smiled knowingly. "Captain, I've been practicing medicine on the frontier for 20 years. I've seen a lot of things that the core worlds would consider complicated. If that creature is helping you somehow, I'm not going to ask questions." That evening, Dr. Vasquez invited Marcus to dinner at the colony's community center. As they ate simple but hearty food, Marcus found himself opening up about his situation. Dr. Vasquez listened without judgment, occasionally asking thoughtful questions. "You know," she said finally, "there are legends about Draconians that go back centuries. Before the wars, before all the fear and hatred. Some of the older spacer families tell stories about dragon riders, humans who formed bonds with Draconians and accomplished incredible things." "Dragon riders?" Marcus asked. "Partnerships," Dr. F. Vasquez explained. "The stories say that when humans and Draconians worked together, they could accomplish feats that neither species could manage alone. Healing the sick with a touch, predicting dangerous stellar phenomena, even communicating across vast distances without technology." Marcus thought about his growing connection with Harmony. Over the weeks, he had noticed that his own intuition seemed sharper when the dragon was nearby. He could sense potential mechanical problems with his ship before his instruments detected them, and he had successfully navigated several dangerous asteroid fields that should have been beyond his skill level. "Of course, those are just stories," Dr. Vasquez continued. "The Draconian Wars put an end to any cooperation between the species. Now they're hunted wherever they're found." "What if the stories were true?" Marcus asked. "What if the wars happened because people were afraid of that kind of partnership?" Dr. Vasquez met his eyes. "Then it would be one of the greatest tragedies in galactic history, and those responsible for continuing the hatred would be denying both species their true potential." Later that night, as Marcus prepared his ship for departure, he noticed Harmony behaving strangely. The young dragon kept looking up at the night sky and projecting feelings of unease through their mental link. "What is it?" Marcus asked. Harmony's response was a complex mixture of images and emotions. Danger approaching, ships coming, bad intentions. Marcus checked his scanners but found nothing, yet Harmony's distress was growing stronger by the minute. The dragon had proven to have remarkably acute senses, often detecting things that human technology missed. "How long before they get here?" Marcus asked. The images Harmony projected suggested several hours, maybe less. Without questioning the dragon's warning, Marcus immediately began emergency departure procedures. Dr. Vasquez appeared as he was sealing the cargo hold. "Leaving so soon?" she asked. "Harmony senses danger coming," Marcus explained. "I've learned to trust its instincts." Dr. Vasquez nodded gravely. Then go. And Captain, what you're doing, caring for that creature, despite everything, it gives me hope for our species. As Marcus's ship lifted off from New Hebron, he felt a familiar tingle in his mind. Harmony was trying to share something with him, something important. Gradually, images began to form in his consciousness. Ships approaching the system. Not Terran Authority vessels this time, but something worse. Corvan raiders, the same insectoid species that had wanted to dispose of Harmony at Kepler Station. But these weren't security officers. They were pirates, and they were coming in force. Through Harmony's enhanced senses, Marcus could perceive details that his ship's instruments couldn't detect. The raiders were planning to attack New Hebron, to strip the colony of its resources and sell any survivors into slavery. Marcus faced a terrible choice. He could flee the system and keep Harmony safe, or he could warn the colony and risk everything to help people he barely knew. But as he looked at Harmony, seeing the dragon's growing distress at the thought of innocent people being hurt, Marcus realized there was no choice at all. "We're going back," he told Harmony. "Those people helped us. Now we help them." Through their mental link, Marcus felt Harmony's complete agreement. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together. Marcus turned his ship around and began transmitting warning signals to New Hebron. Behind them, the first raider ships were already dropping out of hyperspace, their weapons charging for an attack that the defenseless colonists would never survive, unless Marcus and Harmony could do something about it. The Corvan raider fleet emerged from hyperspace like angry hornets, 12 heavily armed ships against New Hebron's complete lack of defenses. Marcus watched from his position behind the colony's largest moon as the pirates began their standard intimidation broadcast. "Attention, New Hebron colony!" came the chittering voice of the Corvan commander. "Surrender all valuable resources and personnel, or be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to comply." Through his connection with Harmony, Marcus could feel the young dragon's distress at the approaching violence. But there was something else in that mental link now, something that hadn't been there before. Harmony was no longer just a scared hatchling. Weeks of love and security had awakened something deeper in the dragon's psychic abilities. "Can you sense how many raiders there are?" Marcus asked softly. Images flooded his mind. Not just the 12 ships he could see, but details about their crews, their weapons, their intentions. Harmony's expanded awareness painted a complete picture of the threat facing the defenseless colonists. Marcus activated his communication array and sent an encrypted message to Dr. Vasquez. "Elena, this is Marcus. Get everyone into the underground shelters now. A raider fleet is about to attack." Her response came back immediately. "Marcus, what are you still doing here? You need to run." "Can't do that," Marcus replied. "These people helped us. Time to return the favor." Marcus looked at his single cargo freighter with its minimal defensive systems, then at the approaching raider fleet. By any logical calculation, what he was planning was suicide. But through his link with Harmony, he could sense possibilities that his human mind alone would never have conceived. "Are you ready for this, little one?" he asked. Harmony's response was a complex weave of determination, trust, and something that felt almost like excitement. The dragon had grown tired of running and hiding. Marcus brought his ship around the moon and accelerated toward the raider fleet. His communication board immediately lit up with incoming threats and demands for identification. "Unknown vessel. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed," commanded the Corvan leader. "This is Captain Marcus Chen," he replied calmly. "I'm here to give you a chance to leave this system peacefully." The response was chittering laughter from multiple ships. "Human, you pilot a single cargo vessel against an entire fleet. Are you insane?" "Maybe," Marcus admitted, "but I'm also not alone." At that moment, Harmony stood up in the cargo hold and let out a sound that Marcus had never heard before. It started low, almost below human hearing, then rose in pitch and complexity until it became a harmonious chord that seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull itself. The effect on the raider fleet was immediate and dramatic. Several ships suddenly lost power, drifting helplessly as their engines went dark. Others began firing wildly in all directions as their targeting systems malfunctioned. "What did you do?" the Corvin commander screamed over the communication channel. "That wasn't me," Marcus replied honestly. Through his mental link with Harmony, he was beginning to understand what was happening. The dragon's psychic song was interfering with the raiders' electronic systems, but more than that, it was affecting the Corvin crews themselves. Harmony's species, Marcus realized, had evolved their psychic abilities partly as a defense mechanism. The dragon's mental emanations were triggering panic responses in the insectoid raiders, overloading their primitive nervous systems with waves of fear and confusion. But the raiders were still dangerous, and some of their ships remained functional. Marcus began evasive maneuvers as plasma bolts streaked past his cargo hold. "Hold on," he told Harmony, throwing the ship into a spiraling dive that should have been impossible for a vessel of its size and mass. Except it wasn't just Marcus flying the ship anymore. Through their deepening mental connection, Harmony was sharing its three-dimensional spatial awareness, its instinctive understanding of gravitational fields and energy patterns. Together, they moved through space with a grace and precision that astonished even Marcus. A Corvin interceptor came at them from the starboard side, its weapons charging. Marcus felt Harmony's mind touch his, and suddenly he knew exactly where to position his ship. The raiders' shots passed harmlessly by as Marcus executed a maneuver that seemed to defy physics. "Impossible," the Corvin commander hissed. "No human can fly like that." Marcus smiled grimly. The alien was right. No human alone could fly like that. But he wasn't alone. The battle continued for 20 minutes, with Marcus and Harmony dancing between the raider ships like a leaf on the wind. Harmony's psychic disruption kept most of the fleet disabled, while their combined piloting skills kept them ahead of the few functional vessels. But Marcus knew they couldn't keep this up forever. His ship wasn't built for combat, and eventually the raiders would get lucky. He needed a different approach. "Can you do something bigger?" he asked Harmony through their link. "Something to stop all of them at once?" The response came as a complex mixture of uncertainty and determination. Harmony had never tried to project psychic energy on such a scale, but for Marcus and the innocent people below, the dragon was willing to try. "Do it," Marcus said, bringing his ship to a stable hover between the raider fleet and New Hebron. Harmony moved to the center of the cargo hold and began to glow. Not with visible light, but with something that Marcus could only perceive through their mental connection. Psychic energy was building around the young dragon like a gathering storm. The effect began gradually. Across the raider fleet, communication started breaking down as Harmony's expanding awareness interfered with their systems. But it was more than technical disruption. The dragon was projecting emotions directly into the minds of the Corvin crews. Fear, confusion, and underneath it all, something the raiders had probably never experienced before: empathy. Through Harmony's psychic broadcast, the Corvins were suddenly experiencing the terror and helplessness of their victims. They could feel the fear of the colonists below, the desperate love of parents trying to protect their children, the courage of ordinary people facing overwhelming odds. One by one, the raider ships began to withdraw. Their crews, overwhelmed by unfamiliar emotions of guilt and compassion, could no longer bring themselves to attack defenseless civilians. "What are you doing to us?" the Corvin commander demanded, his voice now shaking with confusion and something that might have been shame. "Showing you the truth," Marcus replied. "You're feeling what your victims feel. Harmony is letting you experience empathy." "This is not possible," the commander whispered. "Draconians are monsters, destroyers. The galaxy knows this." "The galaxy," Marcus said firmly, "is wrong." As the last of the raider ships fled the system, Marcus felt Harmony collapse in the cargo hold. The effort of projecting such powerful psychic energy had exhausted the young dragon. Marcus quickly set his ship to autopilot and rushed to check on his companion. Harmony was unconscious but breathing steadily. Through their fading mental link, Marcus could sense contentment and pride. The dragon had protected innocent people just as Marcus had protected it. Marcus's communication board chimed with an incoming message. It was Dr. Vasquez, her voice filled with amazement and gratitude. "Marcus, what happened up there? The raiders just left. Our sensors showed impossible flight patterns from your ship, and then the entire fleet withdrew without firing a single shot at the colony." "It's complicated," Marcus replied, gently stroking Harmony's scaled head. But Dr. Vasquez wasn't the only one who had been watching. Unknown to Marcus, the entire encounter had been recorded by a passing survey vessel from the Galactic Research Institute. The ship's advanced sensors had detected and analyzed Harmony's psychic emanations, documenting the first confirmed case of peaceful draconian human cooperation in over 2 centuries. Within days, the recordings were spreading across the galactic communication network. Scientists, historians, and government officials watched in amazement as a single human and a young dragon accomplished what entire fleets had failed to achieve: the complete pacification of a raider force without a single casualty. The reaction was immediate and intense. Some factions demanded that Marcus be arrested for harboring a dangerous creature, but others, including several prominent xenobiologists and peace advocates, hailed the recordings as proof that the draconian wars had been based on misunderstanding and fear rather than genuine threat. Marcus first learned about the galactic attention when he received a priority communication from Admiral Sarah Chen, his distant cousin who served in the Terran Authority. "Marcus," came her stern voice over the communication channel, "what in the hell have you gotten yourself into?" "Family business," Marcus replied diplomatically. "The entire galaxy is talking about you and that dragon. Some people want you court-martialed for harboring a banned species. Others want to study you both. And there's a growing movement calling for the complete revision of draconian protection protocols." Marcus looked down at Harmony, who had awakened and was listening to the conversation with obvious intelligence. Through their link, he could sense the dragon's anxiety about being separated from him. "What's your recommendation, Admiral?" Marcus asked. There was a long pause. "Report to Earth immediately. The Terran Council wants to meet with you both. And Marcus, bring that dragon of yours. I have a feeling the galaxy is about to change." 3 weeks later, Marcus found himself standing in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Terran Council, Harmony at his side. The young dragon had grown even larger and more magnificent, its scales now shimmering with an inner light that seemed to respond to its emotions. Representatives from dozens of worlds filled the massive chamber, all there to witness what many were calling the most significant xenobiological contact event in centuries. "Captain Chen," began Counselor Williams, the elderly leader of the Human Colonial Authority, "your actions have forced us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the draconian species. The evidence suggests that these beings may have been gravely misunderstood." Marcus stood straighter. "With respect, Counselor, they haven't been misunderstood. They've been abused. Harmony's species evolved as empathic beings. Their psychic abilities were meant for cooperation and healing, not domination. The aggression that led to the draconian wars was likely a defensive response to centuries of persecution." Murmurs spread through the assembly. Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had been called to testify, stood up in the gallery. "Counselors," she said in a clear voice, "I've spent my career studying xenobiology. What Captain Chen and the Dragon Harmony demonstrated was beyond anything in our scientific understanding. They formed a true symbiotic bond, combining human intuition and determination with draconian psychic abilities. The result was capabilities that neither species could achieve alone. A Zephyrian representative's crystalline form chimed in protest. "This is dangerous thinking. Draconians remain classified as a galactic threat." Harmony, who had been silent throughout the proceedings, suddenly stepped forward. The young dragon looked up at the assembled representatives and began to project emotions directly into their minds, not forcefully, as the stories of adult draconians suggested, but gently, like a shared memory. The entire assembly felt it: the joy of discovery, the warmth of friendship, the fierce protective love that Marcus and Harmony shared. But underneath those personal emotions was something greater: a vision of what cooperation between species could accomplish. Cities built with perfect harmony between technology and nature. Ships that could navigate the most dangerous regions of space with unprecedented safety. Healing techniques that could cure diseases that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. All of it possible when different species worked together instead of against each other. When the projection ended, the assembly hall was silent for long moments. Finally, Councillor Williams spoke. "The evidence is clear. We have been wrong about the draconian species for centuries. Captain Chen, would you be willing to serve as humanity's first official liaison to the draconian refugees scattered across the galaxy?" Marcus felt Harmony's excitement and hope through their mental link. The dragon had shown the assembly a vision of the future, but Marcus would have to help make it real. "Yes, Counselor," Marcus said firmly. "We both would." As the council session concluded and representatives began discussing the practical implications of renewed human-draconian cooperation, Marcus and Harmony stepped out onto the observation deck overlooking Earth's glittering cityscape. "Look at that," Marcus said softly, watching ships from dozens of worlds coming and going from the orbital platforms. All those different species all working together. Maybe we can teach the galaxy something new. Harmony pressed against Marcus's side and projected feelings of contentment and infinite possibility. The young dragon that had once been thrown away like garbage was now the herald of a new age of interspecies cooperation. The galaxy, Marcus realized, was about to discover what he had known from the beginning. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe was simply refusing to give up on someone who needed help. Above them, the stars shone with the promise of countless worlds where humans and dragons might one day fly together, partners in the greatest adventure of all, building a better future for everyone.